have listened to, I have not heard sin nearly so much as I have heard discouragement. Discouragement of themselves and of life. Discouragement is what truly kills people. It is not their failings, especially those of the flesh. Although some priests speak of nothing else, they regard these people as great sinners. Jesus himself understood and forgave these readily. No. It is the discouragement with life. Such people want to do good, but they always seem to have nothing but trouble and disappointment, suffering, sickness of all kinds, the death of children, the everyday hurts and disappointments of life. Think of the pain of all those people who have nobody to love. And also think of the pain of those who do. I remember when I was an Army chaplain in that first Great War. That terrible spring of 1917. Cassett stained red on the plateau of Asiago and the blood-soaked fields of Piave. Giving what I could for the last consolations of absolution and friendship to the dying. Just children, really, bleeding to death in my arms, asking me to tell their mothers or wives or sweethearts of their love for them. Brave young men, unolder men veterans, just children. Wide-eyed before that last dark tunnel of death. How much I learned of the human heart at that time. No, I don't think most people are great sinners. What can religion do to help people? That is the question that the church faces. That is the question the Catholic Church must deal with before all others. To help people understand that life is not meaningless, especially for the young who have not yet had a chance to live. They are the ones who must carry the weight of our world. At this conclave, that is what must guide the cardinals as they choose a pope for what is truly a new age. One of my favorite phrases brings me great comfort. We are not on earth as museum keepers, but to cultivate a flourishing garden of life and to prepare a glorious future. The Pope is dead. Long live the Pope. The future to build. All this to do, and nothing has gone well so far, let me tell you. There are many signs of the disintegration that takes place when a man, even a good man, has been Pope for a long time. There are signs that the Catholic Church has been living like an old lady, shut off from the world, who no longer notices that the roof leaks, that the garden is overgrown, and that the walls blown in the wind. I want to tell you about the Curias. That's the bureaucracy here in Rome. The men who run the various departments. They are mostly good men, yeah, and right too. Monsignor Tabini runs an orphanage, but most of them know nothing of the world. They like things to stay as they are. I wonder if they even like the new moon. In recent years, they have been behind the condemnation of many great Catholic leaders, the Jesuits, the Dominicans, and others. Yes, many have suffered because these men in the Curia want to control the church from inside their offices. They know little of what human beings really go through. They are obsessed with sin, the evil of communism, with red tape. Do you know what the poet Peggy has got to say in one of his works? I don't want much of men, just the heart. Well, these men would be puzzled by that idea. And these same men have judged that Roncalli is not a first-class man. un uomo di primo piano. Basta, basta. I sometimes wonder how I ended up here. I've been thinking about the journey of my life, the journey of my soul. After that first terrible war, I worked with the young, students mostly, in hostels near the universities. I was called here to Rome in 1921 to help modernize a department that supports missionaries all over the world. It was then that I was made a Monsignor. The title means nothing, but you have to work a little harder in order to justify it. I asked my mother, why is Don Angelo dressed up like a bishop? And she said, I'm not quite sure. You know, priests arrange these things among themselves. Then there was talk that I was to be made Archbishop of Milan. But they chose another man, and I was sent, as a comrade of mine said, to the end of the earth. I was made an Archbishop in the Vatican Diplomatic Corps, and I was given an appointment at the very bottom of their list, to Bulgaria, a country with very few Catholics. Yet, it was then that I began to see the Catholic Church as I had never been able to see it before, because there, forgotten by Roman officials, I began to see the world as I had never seen it before. In 1925, I wrote the Orient Express to Sofia, the first papal representative to come here in 600 years. Only 50,000 Roman Catholics in the whole population. You see, I really was near the last rung of the diplomatic appointments. People were Eastern Orthodox, very strong in their faith, in a very troubled country. It was on the brink of civil war, filled with pain and loneliness. Refugees everywhere. Terrorists on every side, murdering people, setting explosives. In 1924 alone, there were 200 political assassinations. And King Boris of Bulgaria had his own reign of terror in return. Just before I came, a bomb went off in the dome of the Orthodox Cathedral, and the air still smelled of death when I arrived. 150 dead. 300 wounded. The first thing I have done is visit them. An introduction to their 20th century. I have learned how the Catholic Church, which should be at home in every land, is a stranger here in Bulgaria. Not only does she pray in Latin, she preaches in French. It is like a French colony in North Africa. Nothing Bulgarian about it. And no attempt to make the religion belong to the people. I have changed every prayer I can into Bulgarian. And I have learned the language myself. They call me Il Bulgaro. I have traveled from the Black Sea to Turkey to get to know the scattered flock of Catholics. You should have seen me. I traveled by car, by scow, by horse. You should have seen the horse, too. Everywhere in this country that reminded me so much of home. I have seen ruined, vandalized churches, but good people. And I greet them in their own language. I am like a beast of burden. I don't carry much, but I am always working. 20 pages. I told the Holy Father that my greatest problem is not with the Bulgarians, but with the Romans. The imperial officials who understand little outside their own city. The church in Rome looks so big that they cannot understand how small it is in other places. When the Pope, Pius XI, read my angry letter, he said, myself as I was. I would always be a pastor in backwater places. Too simple for anything too complicated. Years later, that same Pope, he was a good man, told me he had been wrong to let them deal with me in that way. I vowed afterwards, fearing that there was enough hurt in the world, plenty to go around for everyone, that I must always give truth its opportunity to speak, that I must never wound others, even in correcting them, that no matter how great the sin, I must always love the sinner. The courier is right about one thing. I am being sent farther away, to Istanbul. Now I am in Turkey. 18 million people and only 20,000 Catholics. And they asked me to take care of Greece too. Only 50,000 Catholics there. As scattered as the Aegean Islands. No sooner have I arrived in Turkey than the new leader, Ataturk, wants to throw me out. He has taken away the privileges of every religious faith. Even Islam has no standing with him. We have all been told that we can no longer wear a religious garb. None of us. My assistants and the other priests are very upset about it. But I have told them, yes, Reverend Fathers, yes, it is inconvenient. But you will always be priests, no matter how you dressed. Now, I learned to tie a tie when I was a chaplain. Hey, you better learn to do this yourselves. Do not grieve for your cassocks or your collars. Better to lose those than your heads. We must surrender our religious garb in the Church of St. Anthony. I do not want anything to do with Turkish politics, but I do care about the Turkish people. They have suffered here so much. Where there's not been wars, there's been earthquakes. My conviction is that we must not try to impose Roman notions on them. If in Rome, Christ is a Roman, then here in Istanbul, let him be a Turk. I believe that the Catholic Church cannot be a monopoly of any one nationality. I believe that a good Catholic must first of all be a good Turk. I may surrender my Archbishop's robes, but I hold on to my soul. What a time. What a time. War covers the whole world now. Istanbul has become a nest of spies and intrigue. Somebody follows me wherever I go. I see them all. The Russians, the Germans, the French, even some Americans. All spies look alike. If they follow me, tells you how little they know their own business. Blackout curtains in case of air raids. I was out this afternoon to see my friend, Austin Oakley, the Anglican chaplain at the British Embassy. We prayed together for peace in his chapel. We are good friends. Whenever I see a wall between Christians, I try to pull out a few bricks. Doctor has put me on a diet. I have been on so many diets. You know what he makes me eat? Yogurt. Baby food. Still, I will soon be 60. The age when we begin to be old. Here and in Greece, I have put all my efforts into helping people of every religion who suffer because of this terrible war. Von Papen, the German ambassador, came to see me earlier today. He wants me to say a good word for the Germans because they are fighting communist Russia. I told him I would never speak on behalf of the Germans as long as they have a national policy of killing Jews for no other reason than that they are Jews.
would be surprised at my visitor this evening, Mr. Ira Hirschman of the American War Refugee Board. I have worked with leaders of every faith to locate missing family members, to bring word of prisoners of war, to feed the hungry, to save people's lives any way we can. Chaim Barlas of the Jewish Rescue Committee brought me a report about the final solution for the Jewish question in Bulgaria. I felt that I was holding the work of the very devil himself. Mr. Hirschman, come in. Come in. Sit down, my dear friend, sit down. You were followed? Well, I feel better. I thought they were only following me these days. I have read your report on the Hungarian Jews. Do you personally have good contacts with them? Good. I have worked out a plan to save the lives of many Jewish people. I have not lived this long in Istanbul without learning something about the church. It's a game many can play, no? Listen, my friend. I know of nuns in Budapest who give Catholic baptismal certificates to Jews. They don't baptize them, of course, but the police accept them and leave the Jews alone. I have signed all these baptismal certificates. The spaces for the names are blank, so you can fill them in with the names of Jews who are in danger, and the authorities will have to accept them. If von Papen still wants the church's favor, the Germans won't challenge these certificates. Besides, there's nothing that impresses the Germans more than official documents. I'll sign as many as you need. No. They don't have to become Catholics. Giving you these is one way for me to be a Christian. I want to protect these people, that is all. Oh, please. And there's little enough for us to do. And we did save many lives. But 6 million Jews were killed, each one of them a fresh crucifixion. So much death. Such a sad world. The war ended in a kind of a peace game, a very cold one. I was sent to France to complete my education in the 20th century. In Catholic France, I found that hardly anybody went to church. Christianity was barely known in the Middle East, and it seemed worn out in Europe. War, terrorism, killing, hatred, and the corruption of religion in the middle. Sometimes at the very bottom of it all, people hating other people who believed differently than they are because they looked or spoke differently. Jews slaughtered only because they were Jews. And Christians killing each other for reasons so old nobody could remember them anymore. And in Rome, men so nearsighted they could not see the pain of the universe spread about them. I sometimes felt that I had to break their rules in order to be a Christian. And I vowed that if by God's will I ever had the chance, I would try to do something about it. A long journey, yes, to come to this moment. What a strange moment for me. The talk here at the general meetings of the cardinals comes to this. Who shall we elect as Pope? Shall we have continuity or shall we have change? 18 of the 51 cardinals are Italian, 6 are French, a few Americans. The non-Italians do not know the others. The Pope never brought them together for a consultation, so we are strangers really to each other. The talk is mostly about electing another Italian Pope, except for Cardinal Agajanian, who was born in Armenia and is thought by some to be somehow an Oriental. He has been in Rome so long that he is more Roman than the Romans themselves. There was talk at one of our meetings that perhaps someone not a cardinal, Archbishop Montini of Milan, might be elected. Cardinal Siri of Genoa became so angry at the idea of a non-cardinal being chosen that he pounded his fist on the table and broke the ruby in his ring. So someone else spoke of himself as a candidate. Someone else said he is only 52, he could be Pope for 40 years. I do not think they want the next Pope to live too long. For myself, I was going to tell you something. A secret, in a way. Well, you know, despite all this talk, well, no matter. Tomorrow we go into the conclave. We will be locked in. First, we choose the rooms we stay in by lot. Then we are sealed in. Yes. They break the walls up, put shutters on the windows. They are afraid someone will send out news with a flashlight or a mirror. And the newspapers are filled with speculation. They say, however, that it will be a wide open conclave. Where's my hat? Tonight, I dine with Count Della Torre. He is the editor of Osservatore Romano. He tells me that he is so uncertain as to who will be chosen that he has prepared 25 biographies. You know, I have certain ideas, but I can't talk about them right now.
Okay. You might get the impression of watching a particular presentation of the importance of history in the formation of the person. How that person will bring that historical perspective into his conversations, into the dialogue, into how one governs, how one leads, how one lives. And so it shouldn't at all cause us to become kind of wondering where this stuff came from. Keenan Osborne, who some of you know, as a Franciscan, used to remind us that even before the Vatican Council happened, there were already signs of this gigantic earthquake. A lot of tremors were moving throughout the church. But by the time of Pius XII's death, there was already a sense of the need of calling the council. And again, not for doctrinal reasons, but to kind of look at the tragedy of 2 world wars and try to figure out where is the gospel, where are Christians, where is the Christ alive in the community? And when you have a figure like John 23rd, whose whole experience has been to be exposed to the minimum and also the maximum, and then to see the great diversity, people who know nothing and people who profess to be the outstanding Catholics of Catholics, France, the great church. And we still hear the cry